Guys, so we're live in the room this morning. I'm going to go through and just have a look at the main indices because we've got a couple of potential trades here. So I want to do a comparison between where the S&P futures and the Dow futures are before we get into actual trades. So if we look at the Dow, we've got the prior highs from October, and if I just keep flicking back, you can see on the S&P, we've got the same scenario here. We've got the S&P highs in October. Now, what I'm looking at is obviously looking at whether or not price is going to get back up to these highs. Now, the current price action is we've had two tests of this level here. We haven't really pushed away on the S&P. So if we break on this third or possibly fourth, then I would be looking back up to the highs of October. Does that make sense to everyone? On the Dow, you can see here that the support or the resistance is not quite as clear, but again, if we push past these levels, I'd be looking at the same. Now for a reversal, we'll talk about a specific reversal trade once we get into our reversal list, but again, you can see that on the Dow you've got the prior highs and you've got MR2 lining up quite nicely there. So we'll talk about a reversal in a bit. If I go and have a look at the DAX, now the DAX, again, it's way off its prior highs. You can see it's a very different scenario, but we've had the trend line break, and again, we're testing this level here. If we were to break that, we've got one high and one low there, but I think if you see the main US indexes move up, without a crisis or something really going wrong in Europe, Brexit might affect what happens with the DAX. But I think, look, you can see that the current price action is very similar. We've recovered off of the lows that you can see here in late December. The S&P and the Dow have done a similar thing. So the overall price action is behaving in a similar way, but the specifics are very different that you can see here. So again, if we break this area of resistance, I would be looking, yes, we've got that there, but looking towards MR3, looking towards that level there. So that may provide us, if we can get above the weekly 50 here on the DAX, if we can get above the weekly 50 and get into this zone here, that could provide us with long trades using this area here as a target. And we'll discuss that in a bit more detail when we look at our pullback trades, which you can see here. So we've got to go through and filter those. If we have a little look at oil, we've got our monthly trade of oil set up, and at the moment we're sitting in between the lows here and in between the highs. So oil very consolidatory over the past couple of weeks. Not a lot happening here. Again, if we can break these highs, then we've got a nice chunk of clean air. Yes, there's some pivots in the way, but you can see that we've got plenty of clean air to the upside if we break there. A little bit busier to the downside. So obviously with our first day of the month trade, if we get a break to the upside, there is a little bit more clean air. If we get a break to the downside, well, we've got a little bit in there. But remember, it's a mechanical based strategy, so we're not going to be influenced by support and resistance. In terms of the swing trades that we had on oil, my long-term swing trade, I got out at the prior highs. I know the guys that were trading the swing reversal breakout from this area here and this area here, both of those entries were out of there. So we've all had some nice trades on oil off the back of the reversals here. All right. So gold, let's have a little look at gold. So our pullback traders, some got triggered in here, some didn't based on the entry. Gold has now made this is interesting, its first test of the 50 since all the way back here when we were a lot more sideways. Close below that, we've gone down here. So gold's had a real move back. For me on gold, obviously it's going to be slightly dependent on what's going on with the main indices, but looking at gold here, for me, I'm looking to see whether or not the weekly 21 and the weekly 50, which are fairly close, whether this little area here holds up or whether or not this high is really reacting to this area of resistance and we're going to come back down and go lower. So again, fairly sideways overall if you look at it over the last couple of years. Didn't quite make it back up to that resistance, but I'm looking to see whether or not the weekly MA area just in there is actually going to hold things up. Quick look at euro and cable. We'll just have a look at euro against the US dollar. And this is what I've been saying in other room sessions. You can see here, very consolidatory here. Now, it's not just with consolidation that it's sideways, it's also the price action that you can see on these weekly candles. Give me a yes, guys, if that makes sense. So you can see not only are we going sideways in a small range, that within that range there is a lot of indecision, i.e. a lot of wicks either side. So you're getting a lot of what we call wicky price action or chop here. And if you're looking at euro and US dollar, that's going to have a knock-on effect on other trading opportunities. So don't be surprised if you're trading multiple different currency pairs, be they majors or minors, that you're getting less trade opportunities at the moment. But eventually we will break out of this scenario and the price action will change again. There's no real need to look at the daily because there's not going to be any trading opportunities there. The first one that we would have would be a breakout of this trend line. Quick look at pound against the US dollar. There has been a little bit more price action you can see on the daily, but I can put that into perspective when I go up to the weekly chart, and you can see, again, same idea, fairly consolidatory since September. There was a lot more indecision around this period in terms of the weekly candles showing a lot more wick, but again, fairly tight in a range. Again, you can see that's when there was a lot more movement relative to where we've been. But again, really, there's the summary with the main indices is the S&P and the Dow, whether or not they're going to get back up to their highs, which would give us reversal opportunities. If they break them, so be it. We can look at further trades to the upside. The DAX is more about, because of its position, trading. If it continues to go up, trading with that upward move towards this area here. Oil, we've obviously got our trade on oil. Gold, whether or not on the weekly chart we hold up at the weekly 21 and the weekly 50. And euro and pound fairly consolidatory. But now we've done that, I think what we'll do is we'll scan the other markets and have a look through and see if we've got any other potential trades.